This is Dan Max at eXp Realty, aka the Trading Agent, and this is your live market chat for Monday, January 30th, 2023. I hope you're doing well. First things first, can I get a mic check just to make sure everyone can hear me? If so, cool. Put the link to the Discord room in the YouTube chat. As I said, opening up the room. Love to talk about what's going on, what to expect. I think a lot of people are overthinking what's going on. As typical, the market is going to do what? Confuse you before it makes its real move. Meaning, again, market's meant to take the most amount of money for the most amount of people. Not surprised by this action. If anything, we predicted it on Friday. Not surprised by the continuation today. Quick note, for some reason, eSignal, help me. I cannot drop my Twitter charts. I can drop them to StockTwits, but then the residual quality when I try to cut and paste them looks like junk. I apologize. I'm typically posting a ton of stuff, hence why I'm trying to open up the Discord room. If you want to follow and be involved, again, link is in the video. I appreciate everybody who is. Just bear in mind, if you are not going to be involved, meaning you really don't have much to say, you're not really going to be posting, asking questions, trying to learn, I'm just going to boot you within probably 24 to 48 hours, not because it's anything personal, and then it's not a permanent boot, it's just a kick. Just for the sole reason, again, that's what I want, people who want to be involved. If you're not interested in being involved, again, it's pretty easy to follow. We'll get everything back situated with Twitter at some point, but just want to make sure, get a mic check. Can I get a mic check? Make sure I'm not talking to myself. Usually it should be good, but that's one of the things I always like to do. Mic check, 1 2 1 2. Awesome. Perfect. Okay, so going into today, what did we expect? What did we talk about in the recap, right? Again, follow me on Twitter. Back to basics. Follow, subscribe, hit the notification bell, you'll get this. What did we talk about? Talked about what? The dollar. Talked about the VIX, talked about the bond market, talked about all these concurrent things looking like they're what? Gonna bounce. Looking at your call and talk, it's a trade or a longer trend. The Soctus trade is a bigger trade. It's a swing trade for sure, but layering in, not chasing it. So back to what I was saying. The dollar bottoming, TLT topping, the VIX bottoming. All these things were gonna line up to what? A market pullback. How deep, how long, how strong, right? Well, you've got a multitude of things coming this week. You got FOMC, I'm pretty sure you've got European Central Bank, Japan, you got everybody. You got the whole kit and caboodle. You got also a jobs number that I think is going to be revised down big. As Holly dropped an article about the revisions. We've said for the last couple of months, we're surprised how the jobs number have come in better than expected when all you see is headlines of people being laid off. Now, the labor market is tight, unemployment near 3.5%, 4%, whatever. This doesn't give room for the Feds to pivot. Keep that in mind. As long as unemployment rates are sub, 5, 6, there's no pivot coming. We've talked about this forever. So, please, just anybody who's buying into this Fed pivot coming later at some point, wrong. What did we also say? In December, the Feds said what very clearly? They do not plan on cutting rates anytime this year. So until that, changes, we have to see more information, essentially. And so my thinking is the market's going to do what? Trap the most amount of people. And we've said this 1,000 times. At some point, a certain level in the market has brought out what? Bullishness beyond repair. In the sense of in their mind, they want people to go all in long and say, well, I'm tired of the volatility. I don't know what's going to happen next. It's at a good discount. Let's just hope it goes higher long term. You have to remember, there's a thing called trader fatigue, right? They want people, especially the traders. And that's why I always warn people, be careful trading because sometimes you're going to miss out on the bigger trend doing such. When you get into this mindset of always having to be right away, it puts you in a position to miss the bigger move. And so let's talk about it. Dollar looks like it's bottoming. Now, I have a little lower price point. Could it hit that on the FOMC? Anything's possible, right? It's the bottom VAP zone. TLT, what have we talked about? Rates going higher, TLT lower as what? Inflation anchors in. Well, bear this in mind. The Feds have always raised rates above the CPI rate to get inflation under control. If inflation starts now anchoring in CPI around 6%, bad. So if you're the feds right now, what's the easiest solution? Now, I know they really don't want to raise rates long term for fiscal issues, right? We can't afford it. If I were them, I'd be talking up rate hikes, not rate cuts. A lot of you are like, what? Wait, hold on. Yes, I think they want to be as hawkish as possible without actually having to lift a finger, right? Actually having to raise rates. Like doing a quarter point this meeting and a quarter later, I mean, it's nothing at this point. But that's how I've seen them try to get people and get the market to anticipate things is jawboning, right? As we call it. Like, are they actually going to raise a ton going forward? Probably not. We can all agree on that. But that doesn't mean they're not going to try to control the narrative. I hope this helps. So going forward, watch the TLT. We said TLT is making lower highs. Bonds might be rolling over. VIX, you're welcome. I mean, it's very hard to be perfect every time. But we said anytime the VIX gets down here, you probably should be buying puts and shorting and trading around it, not just holding it. Remember, I was the guy who told you when the VIX didn't confirm new highs and the market was bottoming in October, it's like, watch out. This thing could go down and choppy sideways. I mean, honestly, and again, this is where evidence changes. You have to be thoughtful of it, is what? We said at some point the market will sell off and there will be what we assume the next leg of the bear market. But we also said this could chop out for as long as needed. Well, here you are. Now you're in choppiness, right? Getting the end of the month now, we're profit taking. I said this, again, if you haven't watched the last 3 business days of the month video, why it matters. Like, if the market's up 10% going into the last couple business days of the month, you're taking profits. I don't give a crap who you are, but you're using liquidity to unload into. As the bullishness erupts based on a recession, you need to have in the back of your mind, well, right now we're not really in a recession with the GDP at 2.8%, which I think is based solely on a lot of the Ukraine spending. But bottom line ultimately is what? This is going to be a trader's market. This is not some sort of capitulation moment. The VIX has not hit 50. As we said, every bear market has ended with a VIX spike of at least 50. The highest we got to was 38, 36, whatever that is, 35. Nothing. Not high enough. Not high enough. I'm sorry. I think this is a prolonged bear market, meaning what? Trader's market at worst. So I hope that helps. Now that we're into levels, the VIX coming down, trash floating last, the Qs finally leading up, the IWM lagging, the DIA lagging, we talked about it, even metal starting to roll over, oil starting to get weak, all of these things that you would think, seems like pivoting and rate cuts. IWM, we said, watch what happens when it gets up here. Yeah, prolonged bear markets means we need to be on toes. At least we can come out super traders. Yep, just survive. Trade the extremes, right? That's what I'm trying to do. I'm not, we buy dips, we sell rips. The bigger dips, we buy more aggressively. The bigger pops, we short more aggressively. Hopefully that's as simple as it really has to be. So IWM, we're watching for it lagging. Okay, we talked about the Qs being the last super crap. Gets over the 200-day. What did I say on Friday? Don't be surprised if this is a pivot point. It loves to look like, what is that game? Galaga? It's like pew, 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 shooting out the top with that long head. I would not. Now we're back at the 200-day. Not surprised. Now we're going to play some games, right? Like, do I think we'll just absolutely unload? Well, I mean, that's one probability potential, right? I would say it's 40% because, again, if the market starts peeling because people are locking in profits and they start realizing, oh, crap, the feds are not going to be dovish at all, then, yeah, it makes sense that the market might start to peel over. And what did we say? Don't be surprised by SPY 400, 395 minimum before the FOMC. It's basically just filling this gap. Coming back to the supply zone, chopping, maybe even the 200-day. Would that be technically damaging beyond repair? No. I would expect that to play out sometime before Wednesday. Now, you got the jobs numbers on Friday. You got big earnings during the week. I'm telling you right now, if you could have shorted near the highs and trade around your position, I think that is the best scenario here. Because I don't think anything really surprises to the upside. If anything, things are getting worse quicker. You're not laying off jobs and cutting people because the economy's looking good. It's cutting the fat. I think now, again, I'll give Elon some credit here. He cut 90% of the workforce to realize that he could still survive in Twitter. How many other tech companies need a ton of fat cut. How much growth really is out there in the economy to support longer-term sustained GDP and what I mean consider economic growth based on consumers? Consumers strapped. Wages aren't going up. Costs are going up. I mean, you see that another egg facility spontaneously blows up. We can get into that another time, but my point being is there's a lot of stuff on the back end that, again, at the lows, everything seems bearish. Do you guys not remember when we were talking about buying down here? We're talking about buying here. Everybody and their mom was like, still bearish, right? And it was like, yeah, that was the inflection point. Well, here's the inflection point in my mind. Everybody's still bullish as can be. Now it's just a retest. And I swear I don't think people remember these recaps, but I said don't be surprised by choppiness and retest later. How many people remember me talking about retest into the beginning of the year? Oh, why would you have that reference? It was literally as easy as last year. Choppy, choppy, choppy. Talked about it. Happens. Remember, seasonally bullishness into early January, the January effect, new money coming in, especially after tax loss selling the end of last year and last quarter, and also what? Wash sales. People take their time. They're going, all right, well, I'm going to put money back in the market. Here you are. Yeah, taking my profits and buying chickens. Yeah, no crap. Producing $7 golden eggs at this point. Sorry, I got some piece of pepper in my throat. So at this point, keep it simple. I mean, all of my retail sentiment indicators are pretty much pinned to, what's the best way? Excitement. Anticipation of going higher. I told you, phone calls from people I never get phone calls from unless they're at market inflections. People posting who typically troll us. We're like, oh, you're wrong about this and wrong about that. Yeah, it's like, yeah, I get it. Sometimes we're wrong, sometimes we're right. But at inflection points, we're typically very close. Sentiment, again, fear and greed index on, was it CNN, 68, 69, going closer to greed, extreme greed. I don't really care about those readings as much as I've watched the last couple of days, like every candle, bought. These gap downs, no, all ran up. Very similar, right? Near the lows, down. Then inflection point. Is this the inflection point? I don't know. We'll see. Now pay attention, like we can dig into some of these names, and here I'll just do it real quick that I'm watching. Obviously the SPY here. Is this a professional gap start of the move? Now again, does it have to unnecessarily peel right today? I hope personally it doesn't. I hope we trap more. Remember, the bigger the traps, the bigger the moves. The dollar over the 8-day. I said this many times. I was like, we just couldn't close over the 8-day. Well, then you close on it Friday. Not the purtiest of candles, but look what's happening here. Right? Okay. TLT. Toppiness. Hold on. The egg problem is many private cryptos caused by the feed. Once the news came out that people changed feed, they got production back. Yeah, I heard the feed was actually pretty bad and was hurting the production of chickens. Again, I'm not a chicken guy. I don't know. But that's what I've heard. VIX. I know some farmers from North Carolina. Gap up. Yeah, the crappy seed supposedly was restricting egg laying capacity. Not capacity, but what's the wrong word? Just they weren't laying as many eggs. Typically 10 to 15, they're laying 1. SPY DIA. Remember we talked about it. Lagadocious. Lagging. Yeah, capability, exactly. Here you go. All right. Gold. Everybody, egg laying ability. It's really that simple to say, but you're sometimes an idiot. And I'm talking about myself. Gold, we talked about on fire. Fed pivot. Everyone's buying gold. Now, again, I don't mind those headlines. We've talked about. I know a lot of y'all seen this too. Is like at extremes in metals, I get a ton of ads about buying gold and silver. Not at the lows. No one's ever saying, hey, buy precious metals. No, it's all here. Ads are on fire. Now, is that necessarily the key to here? No. We're at major resistance. I think, we talk about straight line moves at some point back. And now am I expecting gold to absolutely implode back down to the lows? I would say I don't think that's more likely than not. However, anything's possible. But I think the short makes here, if you're patient. And again, If you're worried that this is not a good trade, please don't go big. Do not have all-in gold. Okay? Miners, we talked about hitting the range highs, failing. Fecundity. Here you go. 3 days down now. I know it doesn't make a trend, but I'd watch what happens at the 31 levels. If you bought dust under and around 11, you can't complain about that. Set your stops. AG, we've always talked about like something's wrong with this. The stock should not be acting like this. Newmont. Talked about, again, remember this is all the New York Stock Exchange BS. Talked about this level in the 53s. Ain't going to be easy. Ain't going to be easy. Well, guess what? It's chopping up here. Get below the 200-day, 20-day. See ya. Back down to 50 easily. XOP, oil and gas, said take your profits. Take your profits. Hit the max upside in my potential. Doink. If it breaks the 200-day, spaghetti-o. Speaking of oil, XOP, today's action doesn't, tough to know. Opening low, closing around lows. But man, oil got up into $82 a barrel and just seems like there's a lid on it. Why? I don't know. Nat gas. UNG. Trash. And again, this is because it's an older trend line. It just happens to play out. GDX broke the 20 the first time in 23. Okay, cool. Thanks for again, people are posting. I'll check that out in a second. Thanks, Hamilton. I struggle with nat gas because this thing should be higher. Just bottom line it. GDXJ, let's look at that 20-day. Ooh, do you have simple moving average or exponential? This is the simples, Hamilton. So I don't know. I mean, close enough. You're at it. ExxonMobil, what did we say? I don't know if anyone's shorted this, but it's kind of looking like a pretty smart trade. Here is the monthly trend line. You hit it. You got slightly above it. Flopping back. I know XM has got his Oxy short looking pretty good here. That's potentially a professional gap, but we had this before. And now do you trust it to absolutely implode before the Feds? Tough to know. Tough to know, right? We talked about PXD kind of lagging, not really looking that good. That doesn't really look that good. Yeah, I can check out SoFi in a second. Give me 2 seconds to get through solar, and then I'll continue on. Talk about solar not holding up well, chopping. I know ENPH is up, but this thing has been absolutely. Remember, this led up. Do you play with? I haven't traded it. No, I'd like to. I was just waiting for a decent pop. Sedge, I think, is an easy short. Up near the highs, and First Solar was absolutely easy to layer in to on Friday, as we did, and I like it. I mean, we filled the gap, went a little higher. We opened at the gap today. Unless you're following this hard, again, I've got my position on for this, and now I'm holding again. We'll see. I mean, tried to add as much as I could between like 175 and 180s. I think we easy can get back down here. And if what happens, what I think is going to happen, could get smoked. Could get smoked because I mean all these companies. I mean they're all living on hype. SoFi, I know I saw their earnings. I mean, it's a crappy company. I don't know. It gaps up today, and here's the thing: the trash. It's a pump and dump. This is a pump and dump. I mean, I don't know how to say it other than trade it. I don't believe. Again, I'm very concerned about their student loan issues. I mean, I don't know. Is the government going to bail all that out? I mean, again, I don't know all the details on this, but anytime I hear student loans and companies that are involved with such penny stocks, I go, oh shit. Again, I just wouldn't buy this stuff. But people want to trade it, and so it pops on earnings. I know a lot of people are talking about buying it here. The 200-day crapshoot, gaps up. I think some people who trade penny stocks understand pump and dumps, but the problem with companies like this is I just don't. I mean, it doesn't matter if their revenue does increase and they stabilize out, but who wants to pay X amount of multiple for a company that has tremendous risk? That becomes the issue. You don't trade in this cheap stock land unless the market's really given up on you. And again, will they come back later? Maybe. But I hate to see companies IPO and then go below their IPO. Once they do that, they're usually dead. And especially after a big pop. After the big pop, it's kind of done. Because now, it just, from my experience, and I could be wrong here, it's like, that's just me saying how I feel about it, these companies are just dead. They become trading avenues. You know, people on stock twits pump them, and then they dump, and then they get pumped, and then they get dumped, and then people sit around and go, I read this about management and this and that, and it's like, ugh, you're never going to hear that again. I mean, or you're just going to hear a bunch of retail nobodies. I mean, essentially like myself and everyone else sitting around talking about how awesome something's going to be. And this is the thing. If you haven't taken a loss from being involved in a stock that the market pumped, eventually you will, and you'll learn there's nothing guaranteed. And so no matter what your favorite stock is, I mean, for me, it was Sirius and XM. Back in the 1990s, this was like, oh, they're going to put in every car. It's going to be this. It's not. It's going to be everything. It's going to go in everything. It's going to replace radio. Yeah, those companies peaked, and then they never made higher highs. They always just made higher lows and gone nowhere. I mean, is Siri still around? I don't even follow this. I'm just curious. This was my, major learning lesson. Here you go. This is what happens. Do you want, and not every stock. Worst trade of my life. I mean, I get it. I mean, it's just why I'm like, I'll move on. MoveOn.org. It's not like satellite radio went away. I mean, it's still around. Point being is, these companies, you leave them alone. Man, that's like probably the covered call machine here. Anyway, back to solar. Yeah, for solar, give me a dump for 500, Alex. Yeah, SoFi is a classic pump and dump. Harry's talking. I'm sure Insider have billions of supply warehouse somewhere offshore. Yeah. Again, the problem that I always hate to see with people don't understand this, and most of y'all maybe do, and I'll just repeat it for anyone who's listening after. You're getting your information from the source that's trying to sell you something they probably don't want. Think about it like, I advertise when I want to sell something, and I'm quiet when I want to buy something. When I want to go buy distressed properties, I don't tell everybody about it. I don't go, hey guys, everybody needs to jump in and let's get on this together. It's like, no. You're hoarding. Quietly. Shh. But then as soon as I'm ready to sell these properties, I'm like, they're great investments. You got to buy them. It's no different in the market. By the time the media is pumping stuff and you see hundreds of articles, I don't want to say hundreds, but dozens of articles and retail pumping, and the same people who just seem to have thousands of followers, but then you follow them and you're like, I don't really understand if they make money or not. I just feel like they're repeating, Blue Horseshoe loves Anacott Steel kind of megaphones. That's all they are. And there's a lot of them. I mean, I remember, and again, if you started trading in the 90s and you remember the Yahoo message boards, we know for a fact, I know for a fact, certain brokerages, institutions would literally create avatars in there and post and create followings about stocks just so that they could pump and dump. And obviously, they were right a few times because they actually were on the inside to get people's confidence. And then what? Kapow. Kapow. Do you not think that happens everywhere? Yeah. Yahoo message boards. So I hope that makes sense. So that's just on another level times 1,000. Yeah, what a cesspool. But I mean, look at StockTwits cesspool, FinTwits cesspool. They're all cesspools. I mean, if that's where you get your trading information from, you're getting it last. You're not some insider. You're not getting inside information. You're getting regurgitated information that's been chewed up, spit out, pooped out, put back in the container, and resold as gold. Yeah. So you think I should? So, Jagan, again, I'm not going to give you financial advice in the sense of don't hold me to this, but everybody in the message board in my room knows for a fact, when you've got crappy stocks that are going against you, they are the biggest sucking down of your life force and honestly your understanding, your desire to get involved in the market and trade and learn. They literally will drag you down into the toilet. Because what will happen is you'll hold on to names and you'll see other things and it'll kill your confidence. You'll go, oh, I could buy that. Oh, never mind. I'm still in this. You hold on looking for a hope and a dream where the market goal is to what? Penalize people who trade on hope. So you hold on to things thinking you're going to make money, and then you could have had 10 other trades that were lucrative, made your money back, maybe not as quick as you hope, but ultimately seeded your mind for the right type of investing. Because there's been a lot of folks who are what I would consider recovering trading failures or addicts. I'm one myself. Again, nobody is immune from this. Trust me, that's honestly the best way to learn, which I'm hoping to protect people from. Like, you don't have to make these absolute monster mistakes, but you might have to learn. You know, like they say, you don't touch the stove when it's hot because you've been burned. Yeah, right, Kat? You hear me? So this is your example of like, all right, I bought something, for example, like SoFi. Does it ever come back? I don't know. But what could you be doing in the meantime? Is cash not a good opportunity to be in? Because there's always something that pops up later on. Always something that happens that creates an opportunity that if you were locked into SoFi, or for example, for other people in gold, silver, other stuff, when they're trapped, or any other name, they miss opportunities. Yeah, but here's rationalizing bad investments, though, is exactly what the brain is looking for you. It might not be hindering your trading, but it's still a waste of money to be involved in something. I mean, this is the thing. Pretend you're the evil Donald Trump. If a stock as an employee is failing, you fire them. I'm just telling you, I don't hold on to stuff that's not performing. Well, maybe it happens a year from now or a month from now. Fine. I just don't care. I mean, again, I don't have like this mindset, and this is why I hate fundamental analysis. Because on a fundamental level, if you can't read the balance sheet and how the finances of a company work, you shouldn't own them. Like, that's what I look for. All these opinions about fundamentals, they literally are the biggest waste of time. Because you can sit there and argue, what's the true value of Tesla? I don't know. Well, someone can write an article and it seems legit, but then it doesn't trade at $400 a share. So if you hold on to names that aren't performing, you have an opportunity cost. I don't know how to explain it other than you live through it. And if I told you, and now pretend this wasn't stocks, right? Pretend this was like investing in a business, investing in a project, investing in, and you go, and I told you it was going to be a loss forever, potentially, or it could wake up. If you believe that you can't find other deals, then yeah, then you might stay in it. But if you feel like you have the ability to see the next trade or what might be coming and the opportunities, then you just move on. You just take your loss and you leave it. You absolutely leave it. Because if something can't win when the market is winning or it's not performing like you think it should, that's a waste of capital. And you could say the same to me. Remember we talked about CF not performing. Eventually you had to cut it. You had to get out. Well, look what happened. It got out and it went lower. Good. EQT. Pivot. Do you see how like this mindset, because again, I don't know how many trades you follow, but there's going to be a point where you're investing in things and when they don't work, you just got to be quicker to dump them. And maybe every once in a while they go after you get out. But there's always endless opportunity to come. I just hate babysitting losers. Maybe that's the best way to describe it. Because they frustrate me because I'm looking at my capital, I'm looking at the market, I'm looking at what's to come. And if it's not moving with it, at a certain point, like there's a level of frustration that builds up that just kind of lets me into like, it puts me in a place where I can't even focus on what I should be looking at. I'm watching pieces of crap go nowhere. It's a huge learning lesson. It doesn't matter how much cash you have, but if you're investing in losers, it's still a loser, right? I mean, I still have friends who bought Cisco in 2001 and ask me every couple months, what do you think I should do with that stock? And then I say the same thing. You should have sold it 20 years ago. Oh, I bought this company. Again, it's because they see the one-off moves. They see like the Microsoft go dead for 20 years and then pop. They think that becomes the norm versus the exception. And no, the norm is most stocks die. They don't get second lives. They don't get second opportunities. And if they do, well, then you can trade them then. Why? Let them base out. Remember, time and price corrections. I have a video on this. Time corrections. That's the hardest part. Gold had one. Bitcoin's had them. Big names do. Do they all erupt back? Not necessarily. Look at CTLT sometime. Their earnings on the 7th, they have been laying people off. Yeah, opportunity costs. Yep, chapter 13's. I mean, it looks like you got something here. Catalent Incorporated. I mean, it looks like it's stuck. if they have earnings on the 7th, I have no desire to be the first mouse trying to get the cheese. That sounds like a trap. And now again, laying off. This is the problem. At a certain point, trash will not float higher with the market as when the market starts goes back into bear market choppiness. So that's my only guess here. I'm sorry, the truth is out. I don't play earnings. I play the reactions. It's so much easier. Let the stock go up when it shouldn't have or come down. Trying to predict the price action before, I mean, it's rolling dice. I mean, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. I just rather pick the easy trade and wait till the after effect. $100 20 years ago was worth a hell of a lot more than it today. So even if it does come back to even 20 in 20 years, you still lose. Oh yeah. No, I mean, here's the thing. If you don't get anything out of these videos, hopefully you wake up to the consciousness of this, is that you get into a trade you don't want to lose. The brain does not like anything that's not concurrent with how it wants things to play out and believe in, right? You have beliefs, you have thoughts, you study, you look at the chart. You have to be the type of person that at a certain point, you don't believe your own hype. What does that mean? You start thinking like, I can be wrong. Like everything can look a certain way. Again, the brain loves certainty. It loves to know that you buy a stock, it's going to go higher. No one buys a stock going, it's going to go lower. You have to become the type of person who analyzes data, probabilities, and says, I'm wrong. And the better you get at it quickly, the better you will be as a trader. Because your goal is to do what the market is doing. It's not to be some omnipotent Xerxes who can predict the markets. No, we're trying to predict and anticipate the markets, but we're also like wrong. And when we're wrong, we're gone. And when we're right, we try to go with that trend. And it sounds so simple, but why can't most people do it? Because they can't pivot their mind. When they're wrong, they won't admit it. They'll hold on to losers, but then they'll dump their winners. It's pretty funny how market works. SMH, my thoughts. This trend and the 0.618 seem like the max upside. I mean, I know for a fact what happens in bear markets for chips. I've reviewed this 1,000 times, and you've probably seen this, my friend. They become a commodity. They start undercutting each other. They keep undercutting each other in price. Quality continues to rise. Prices come down. Inputs continue to go up. It's a death spiral. And not death spiral meaning like there's no more chips. It's just these companies' growth goes from, they're going to grow endlessly for years because chips are the future, in that it becomes chips are the future and there's too much of them. And the prices start coming down, their margins come down, the companies start falling off. Not all of them, but the ones that survive, they literally puke inventory onto the market. Margins come down. It's just ugly. I mean, if you are familiar, and this is why I always love to look at AMD, and I'll show people on the monthly, like, it's not like these guys went out of business. But look at all what happened during the chip cycles. Big dumps. Big dumps. Big dumps. Big base. Got lucky. Comes back. Holds the monthly trend line. Thank God. Is it going to survive? No. I mean, I think it has another leg down. If at worst, it's like 2000 where you had this pop and then it just sideways to down. That's my guess. So SMH, why we've been buying stocks, and people are like, complaining, you bought it 26, 23, 24. Again, pick your poison. Layer in, layer out, trade around it. Know for a fact that I personally think if the SMH gets creamed, you're probably going to see a mid-30, maybe 40 handle, depending on how hard the market gets sold. Not a bad risk reward, right? Because this action potential to me is topping out. Remember, earnings. October lows. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've got here. Let me pull up my monthly. I've got the old monthly trend line. Like, you didn't come back, and this is the thing about COVID and all the stupid money that went into the market. Like, you just exacerbated the upside. Means you're gonna have exacerbated low side. You haven't even come back to the monthly trend, which is around 133 in the 100 month. I personally think I'd love to see the 200 month and somewhere in the low 80s, and this old banger of a trend line. This old clunker in the 80s. But even then, it's like the first bottom. I wouldn't want anything to do with SMH other than like for a trade. I mean, tech is going to be dead for years. It's going to be the commodity-led bull market because we're underinvested in commodities and overinvested in what? Tech. Tech. To build out the next tech bull market implementation, you're going to need inputs. So, good stuff. Any other? Oh, actually, let me flop through some of these names. So First Solar obviously got that shorty. Looks pretty solid. Netflix talked about adding this up here. City in the county. Okay. Talked about this 0.382 gap fill. Here you go. Old support resistance. Like, remember, high volume highs, high volume lows. Love to like test these areas. Zoom out. Zoom. Why are you? Go on, hold on. Can you see why this area? Man, I got to pull it back even further. You see why this? Come on, man. I should probably just go to the monthly or the weekly. See why this area matters. Could we get up to 388? I don't know. But we're right now into a major volume at price node, like the biggest sucker out there. I doubt we're going to rip over that. And if it does, all right. Well, it is what it is. I like that it's been lagging the last couple of days. That's for dang sure. Because, I mean, keep in mind, like, look at how it did in January. Where's the low? 283. I mean, up 30-something%. This company is not doing well, in my opinion. Semis, we talked about semis. Taiwan semi, watching. Got to the max extreme up there, which I thought it could. Yeah, okay. Shorted patience. I mean, I think they're going to have issues. Financials, obviously, is a big one. Layering into this, shorting FAS. Don't think we're going to get beyond the upper target zone. It's a nice rally. Congratulations, but could we get up into here? I don't know. I mean, anything could happen temporarily, in my opinion. That wouldn't surprise me if something like Flash popped because of something the Feds say that the market interprets the algorithm. Rhythmic action can push up. We'll see. What else is on the docket? We've talked about QQQ shorting. You can short Meta. I think that makes sense. We talked about this one. How high could it go? I mean, it's up on, and here, the 200-day. Congrats, Drew. I don't know if you're paying attention to some of these. Like, maybe that's the max upside. Well, again, the whole lawsuit or talking about banning TikTok, the more I think about it, it's because TikTok's eating Meta's lunch. Their algorithm for getting people to get stuck on that, it works. I mean, I do not sit around looking at reels. I get on TikTok and I'm like 10-minute go by. I'm like, what the fuck was I just watching? Pretty interesting stuff, but I like it better than the Instagram one. I don't know, but maybe I'm biased. And a threat, they're tracking. Everyone's tracking everything. Let's be honest. Everything's tracked. Nobody's immune from that, right? So if you got financials, Meta, Netflix, gold, dust, semis, Taiwan semi. I mean, look at NVIDIA today, right? Down 4, almost 5%. That's not pretty. Like, that's telling you, that feels very blow off topish. XBI, Hamilton talking about, what's up, girl? 0.25, yeah, that's, again, things that pulling back. I mean, remember, now we at the bottom, or wait, started at the bottom, now we here. Yeah, be careful. I mean, I just don't see this. I mean, here, let's run through some of the names that, we talked about materials leading up. All right, new core earnings, that's pretty sweet. All right, let's see what happens. Getting back up into range highs, turning over. Letter X, I think they have their earnings. They have it this week, I feel like. Okay, they got it on Thursday. Basing, kind of getting toppy. We talked about copper, Arrow. These names are getting like sideways. Now it's starting to pivot potentially, right? CF, you would think. China coming back online, ag, all this stuff. Starting, it's not looking good. Remember, we have secret dreams of filling the gap. AA once was leading, right? Guides down. Not reacting well. Financials, like Goldman Sachs, I know it's rallying a little bit after it got smoked cheddared. That's not the reaction you typically see through strong earnings back at the 50-day. I mean, could it? Let me see if there's a trend line here worth watching out for. Not ideal. Went through some names. Again, trash leading. I think that's the hardest part that I think a lot of people take their cue from, that the market's healthy, but it's, to me, it's not when trash leads versus a lot of these material names. Like Freeport had been doing really well. Starting to chop up here. This is why we talk about patience. You don't know if this is just going to be a chop or a flop. But you love to see the one-off move like there. But here was, August. I still don't think these commodity names are the names to short. I don't think they have a ton of downside because people need this stuff. I'm trying to think if there's anything I'm missing here. I'm trying to do this on the fly. Tesla, okay, yeah. I mean, I know Solomon's listening and he's trolling, said, you said Tesla was going to have bad earnings, yada, yada. Yeah, I did. We talked about buying it down here for a trade. Worked out pretty good. Now, going into earnings, their earnings were still crap. Let's not get that twisted, but it's down so much. I don't know the reaction. Well, the market seemed to be happy during the couple days when it was reporting, so of course it rallies. That's cool. I mean, again, you could have traded that. You could roll the dice. Absolutely. If that's what you see fit as your best intentions in trading, I don't like to roll dice. I'm playing with money that I don't want to lose. I run this like a business. So if I want to gamble, I'll buy maybe a call, but owning the stock, owning the company as like a long-term trade with bigger money, that's totally potentially big L. Big L, rest in peace, if you know what I'm talking about. Now I said, watch out what happens up here. Well, now we're into the next range of pain. Well, why does this zone matter? Go back. Look. Top from here, bottom from here, bottom from here. Here you are. Oh, it's going to 200. Okay, dude. I know you love to create certainty in your mind because that's what you're good at. You at lows, the market's ending. At highs, you're the same person like many others who are screaming bull market in August of last year. I mean, just is what it is. I mean, I'm not surprised you're trapped or you're believing this is going much higher. And again, if it does, I don't have a position here and you can say, oh, you were wrong. Anybody who goes public with any trading, check their record. I don't claim to always be right. And I'm telling you right now, if I act like I'm always right, you should run away. Because you can't always be right. Your brain, that's you and your brain trying to create this certainty. And I'm telling you, when you start creating certainty and you start believing your own hype versus what we see as evidence, repeating patterns, seasonality, I'm telling you right now, you are going to fall into the trap of the one loss out of all of your wins can be decimating to your account balance. That's the problem here. It doesn't matter if you're always right. It's what you do when you're wrong. Because when you're wrong, that adds up. Again, remember they say 5% loss takes 8% to get back. 50% loss, you have to make 100% gain, right? 20, 40, I mean, it's almost double along the way as you get bigger and bigger losses. Oh, yeah. Dollar, yeah, I mean, everything looks fine. Any questions, thoughts, concerns at this point? Any questions, thoughts, concerns? Because I can let it roll. So I think at this point it's going to be a choppy, sloppy, sideways market. I mean, I still think we get down to certain levels by the end. And by the end, meaning getting in front of the FOMC meeting. I am 100% confident, and not in certainty, but in my beliefs that the Fed said in December they're not even talking about rate hikes, the rate cuts this year. I don't think they want to spook the market at this point and say we're going to be cutting rates at any time going forward. They can't say that right now because if they say that, what do you think the market's going to react? Oh, crap. There is a big recession coming. So it doesn't really behoove them to say that. And then also, too, they're looking, their credibility is already crap. If they start saying we're going to start cutting rates soon, the market's going to go, whoa. You literally just said last month you're not going to be cutting rates. They need jobs data. They need more consistent data. Got to be careful. Again, at the highs, everyone's bullish. It's hard to be a bear. At the lows, it's hard to be bullish. What do you think of Bitcoin mining companies? I mean, they're all pump and dumps, in my opinion. until Bitcoin gets out of its own way. I mean, was it Mara one of them? Everyone's always asking about this thing. Boop. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're not investable. They're all pump and dumps. They're below the IPO price. They're all stuck. They're just trading avenues. That's all they literally are. It's just you go on to StockTwits, a bunch of people start pumping it. It starts bottoming. The market rallies. They go higher. At some point, they hit resistance. Everybody's pumping now, and everyone's guaranteeing they're going up, and then they turn over. Again, Bitcoin, gold, silver, anything out there that is an inflation hedge, oil, if the market rolls, ain't nothing safe. And when I say the market rolls, meaning liquidity all of a sudden dries up and everybody's unloading margin calls, there is nothing safe. It's been proven over and over and over. Now, if you're trying to find something safe, good luck. It's just better to go to cash at that point or short. Be short already. Here you go, MicroStrategy. Hit the top end of the range. Again, I don't really have an opinion on Bitcoin long term. I do believe that I hope it goes higher for friends who own it. But I've said this, and I will say it 1,000 times. The easy money's over for a while. I mean, I feel like people forget what happened in 2017 when it did this, or was it 20? Yeah. And then it went nowhere. This is your SoFi. Now, if you bought at the lows, great. I mean, you could see there were tradable moments in this. I just don't think they're going to break out. I don't think the momentum's going to be there to take out, to make a higher high. I could be wrong. I could be absolutely 100% wrong. But I know everyone says digital currencies are the future. Which one? I don't know. I can't say I know anything for sure. Do you want to own a basket of them? Maybe. Yeah, everybody who went to cash is the rich one. And again, you have to remember, all assets are meant to be traded. When you are in something that is popular, the loudest screams of how awesome something is usually near the highs, not the lows. Does the WIT chart look bearish to you? Seems like it wants to roll over. Scott, good question. Great question. We've said, watch out. It got up into the 82 plus range. It does look like it wants to roll over. I mean, we've said mid 60s to me seems like the most obvious buy here, but here's the thing. And you got to be careful with oil, just like happened in 2020, whatever, with COVID. You don't know how low these things can go. Now, again, I think there's going to be a floor under oil at a much higher price. But I'd like to see the mid to low 60s before I even get interested. It's just, that's my my thought. And we talked about oil going higher, pushing the feds to do what? Keep rates higher for longer. Well, if oil does hold up here, 70s, 80s, I mean, is that all it needs? I don't know. But if inflation anchors in 6% plus, I'm telling you right now, if I'm the feds, I rip the Band-Aid off. Because what I would want to do is honestly thrash these names and markets to get the price action to come down, because that's the only way you're going to get the CPI down, is you need to get oil down. Clearly they're getting gas down. But they're going to, if the market is the so-called innocent bystander in this, then so be it. Their credibility is out the window. They need the dollar to survive. They need the dollar to be strong. They need to look like they're fiscally responsible. Because as right now, there's people, as we know, the BRICS, other countries are going, the United States is not fiscally responsible. They're, paper ends. I mean, that's all they're going to keep arguing. And at a certain point, again, we're talking semantics. Who knows when this happens? But if the dollar loses its reserve currency status, then obviously oil also too should fly, and the dollar should tank at some point. But as we said, I'm pretty sure they're going to go out fighting to make sure the dollar isn't the bottom just yet. Isn't trash, right? That's my perspective on it. I think they'll go out guns blazing to try to protect the dollar versus just let it roll over. But I could be wrong. Being right feels great and can be profitable. Knowing how to handle being wrong feels even better because it allows more consistent future profits. Yeah, Mel, I mean, that's the problem here with trading is like you start believing your own hype. I've done it. Everyone here has probably had. You don't think you can lose. So you just start getting sloppy. You start trying to essentially trying to predict the market without evidence, saying, well, I sold my stocks, now the market goes lower. Or I'm done shorting, it has to go higher. Like, people get real stupid about that. So, and again, we've all been caught there. I mean, it's very easy to be like, well, I'm right all the time. I can't be wrong. It happens. Happens to everybody at some point. And I think that's where people realize, like, you ever watch the show Billions? I mean, that is real. Like, there are psychologists, therapists, trading coaches, trading risk managers, the people literally there to tell you, hey, don't buy your own hype. Hey, are you trading? Are you sticking to your systems and your evidence? Hey, are you being humble? Because the market will always humble you again if you're not. Always. Will humble the shit knockies after you. I don't know what I just said there. Smart money makes money on the way up and the way down, like any change. Yep. I look at oil. If the market's going to roll over, oil could roll over. It looks like another little M. Another little Emmy. If that's an Emmy, maybe it gets down to here. Maybe it's just like trend line of some sort. All right. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns? I mean, I love doing this. And again, I have no clue if we'll ever be popular. I know I'm shadow banned on social media, and I mean, I guess I could complain about it, but whatever. It is what it is. I appreciate, again, the donation, support, love. I mean, that means something. It helps me want to, not helps me, it makes me want to do more for people, because it's like, all right, you're understanding this, you're making money, you're saving money on tuition, you are not getting destroyed like everybody else, then I've done my job. And that's all it's really about. And if you're in the Discord room, please get involved, say stuff. I mean, I don't mind newer folks saying dumb crap or naive stuff. That's fine. It's the folks that have been around that it's like, you want to be really good at this, but you don't really want to give any information. Like, you don't want to, like, give the time to learn the information. It's like, I want to play in the NBA. Well, do you want to practice basketball? What does shadow ban mean? I know my Meta, Facebook, Instagram accounts are shadow banned, and also they restrict my ads. I can't create ads for real estate. Also know that for a fact that other people hey, have you seen this post? No, never saw it. What's that mean? Twitter used to be. I don't know if it's anymore. I feel like YouTube, again, I've seen where I post things and I've gotten better reactions with certain things, then all of a sudden notice like it gets no reaction. Now people say, oh, it's the time of day. No. I mean, I take notes of when I try to drop stuff and notice that my following, considering my subscribers have doubled, yet my viewage is down. I don't really get that. I don't get that at all. And again, I don't really even market or advertise it. I think more people find that, again, you're not, what's the best way to describe it? It's like the algorithms put you in like a penalty. That's how I look at it. Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's just like the algorithm does not give you the same opportunity. Maybe that's the best way to describe it. I mean, you can get mad about it, whatever. Yeah, I get it. The algorithm does not put your content in front of people, even though it trends and works well. And and again, whether it works, I guess, beneficial, again, that's a thing. Like, it's funny, the people, you would think that someone who's creating content that has duration of 20 to 25 minutes per video would be pumped, because that's where YouTube can create tons of ads and stuff these into videos and make tons of money off of it. Again, they don't really like shorts. They don't like stuff that doesn't get at least 8 to 10 minutes of viewership. Well, stuff that's getting 20, 25 shows you that people are watching the content, but it doesn't trend. Okay, whatever. It's fine. It just is what it is. Yeah, I mean, if you don't know what shadow banning is, I mean, it's like the same thing of, think about like the algorithms in all social media for COVID. Now, whether you agree, let's not get into what COVID, all the bull crap about it, but it just seemed to be a certain perspective that was getting pushed in narratives versus others that weren't, right? I mean, elections, whatever you want to talk about. Like, let's not talk about the actual individual details of it, but those topics suppressed or impressed upon people more than they should have been. Does that make sense? Sorry, YouTube, I'm not complaining. because I don't really, you guys are going to do what you're going to do. I just hope if you really want to help people, if there's actually like a YouTube algorithm god listening, that's the goal here, is to help people. It's not to sway people in any political manner. It's just to make people realize, like, hey, you're going to lose money in the markets if you do certain things over and over and you don't learn and you don't understand the probabilities. You don't look at the market as a probability-based game, no different than, say, like poker, where you're looking for the highest probability setups, like pocket aces, pocket kings, ace king suited, waiting, understanding, versus trying to play every pot with 2-7 offsuit or jack deuce, jack 3 gay waiters. And that's the name of that one. You got all sorts of fun names. The Brunson 10-2, all these like hands that are just no good. Pocket threes, crabs. I can't remember all the names anymore. I don't play as much poker as I used to, but I hope this helps. Again, I appreciate the donations, the love, support, like that stuff. Again, because I always tell people, like, I could charge thousands of dollars a month for this and create a private Discord room and try to like create some sort of business off of that. And I can tell you right now, people would take it more serious. Since it's free, that just shows me the people who actually want to do it and the people that I will trust with my own trades one day. Meaning, like, they post, I'm busy. What did you say? Cool, thanks. I'll take that. Oh, that's cool. I'm glad this popped up. I mean, it's interesting. I know a lot of this stuff because, again, I can show you like the insides of what my channel looks like. But here, I mean, this is like right now, this is the average duration is 24 minutes on a video like this. I would think that would be good content to sell for YouTube. But my monetization, even over 1,000 subs, I mean, it's like it's pennies. I think I make $50 every month off of the YouTube channel or something silly. Again, and at one point it was higher with half when I just monetized. So I don't know what happens within the algorithm. I really don't understand it. I mean, I literally had maybe $100 coming in a month, which, that's cool, whatever. It's a nice little bonus. And then all of a sudden my channel's grown, duration's grown of video watching, but my AdSense has been cut in half. That doesn't make any sense to me. And also too, I mean, if anyone's familiar, like trying to get in touch with anyone at Google or Meta, it's just not realistic. There's no one to help out, sadly. All right, we got somebody in the Discord room, new person. What's up? Space Lefta. Any questions, concerns, thoughts on the market? Because again, I really think it's going to be this game of, what's the narrative going into the Feds, right? Bull market's on. Bear market's over. They're going to be cutting soon. Rates have peaked. Inflation is coming down. It's all good. I see it the other way. Jobs cuts are, job layoffs are just starting. Unemployment rate can only go up. Inflation is not, in my opinion, fixed, stable. It's going to be entrenched 5, 6, 4%, still below their 2%. You know what I mean? That's no good. Sorry, the text distracted me. Again, I think the Fed's credibility with the dollar long term. I mean, do you think they sit here and watch the dollar? I do. Do you think they like seeing this? BRICS are talking about using non-dollar denominated currencies. Do you think they want the dollar to be strong during all of this? They want people to buy the dollar when in doubt? I think so. Apple, man, I think got up to 145 again. Does it has to get up? I mean, I'm just kind of blasting through this. Does it have to get to the 200 day? I don't know. I mean, it probably should. Maybe it does it after hours on earnings. Your guess is good as mine about in between now and, say, I would guess the close at this point, it's probably going to be flat, maybe down. When do we get down to here is the question. It seems very logical. Could it be today? Could it be tomorrow? Could it be Wednesday after the close? I don't know. Thursday, a bunch of earnings. Remember the reaction to the earnings? We know Apple's going to be crap. right? We know Amazon's probably going to, again, I think AWS has probably got competition. Obviously, they don't really make money on selling products. Google, obviously, laying people off, going to be struggling. You got Qualcomm, chips are bad. Starbucks, I mean, I personally don't really think Starbucks is hitting home runs right now. I mean, who knows? We'll see. I mean, there's a lot of moving factors, and this is why I did that video on earnings. It's typically bullish, right? And why is it bullish? Because what CEOs are going to come out and say, hey, our company sucks. Our future forecasts are terrible. Our company is a joke. We can't run this company. We're going to lose all your money. Like, no, they don't. They're always going to try to cheerlead. It helps bonus them with their compensation packages, right, to get the stocks up. So you got to be thoughtful of that. And honestly, what are the headlines going to get printed of? You know, these comments. Oh, BlackRock, Larry Fink says this, and this, right? Howard Schultz, Starbucks says this, and this, right? Elon Musk, you know what I mean? Like, that's what they're going to pull. Does this help? Does this make sense? I mean, again, I'm trying to be thoughtful of everything that's going on here. Obviously, we're trying to anticipate. Because, again, for anyone to say the market's going to roll over 100% right now, game over. I mean, you're hoping for the worst case scenario, which is, again, a probability. But is it 50%? It's probably like 30% that it would just streamline down. It would have to do more with, say, after hours, tomorrow morning, Caterpillar's like, oh, global recession's coming. You know, ExxonMobil says, hey, we're happy about our stock performance, but we don't see, you know, we see, you know, over a glut of oil potentially coming up next year. You know, McDonald's says, hey, we're going to be cutting employees and trying to go 100%, not remote, no employees at the stores. Like, how does that react, right? UPS tomorrow morning says, hey, shipments are down, had a decent holiday season, but we don't see demand like we did over the holidays for our, you know, no more, whatever you want to call it, our earnings visibility is going to crap. AMD tomorrow after the close says whatever they're going to say. Snapchat flops like it always does. You know what I mean? Like, those are the things that could come out of nowhere. I hope this helps, because I know this is hard. Like, to sit here during the day and have a plan, either when you're trading, and again, think about like the first hour. Typically, if you get some extremes, take some profit, look to add. But the rest of the day, to sit here and say and put pressure on yourself, belief systems that the market has to do something with certainty, is exactly why people get nervous and overtrade, right? Like, if you shorted something at the highs, you buy something at the lows, what happens, right? Like, if it doesn't go in your favor the whole way, you start questioning the trade. And the market knows that about your psychology. I mean, we're wired that way, right? Like, the herd feels good to be going with. Yeah, the crap hasn't hit the fan yet. No, I agree. I feel like we're nowhere close. Because you haven't even seen like a real currency blow up. I mean, that's another. I mean, you could put in all the other things that typically leads to like tremendous market. But I mean, they tried to blow up the Russian currency and actually came back stronger, which was ironic. I mean, Turkey's been on the precipice of imploding. I mean, Argentina, Peru. I mean, you got all these. You have not capitulated yet, in my opinion. Japan going full QE, trying to throw endless amounts. I mean, at some point, think about like all the boogeymen in the closet, you know. At some point, something has to come out. I don't know when it will. Is it World War III? I hope to hell it's not. But war can be bullish at times, but at the initial part, it's typically not, right? Because people are going to be pulling money. People are going to be liquidating things. They're going to be taking profits. They're going to be moving their allocations around. It's scary times. So, any more thoughts, questions, concerns? I really don't mind hanging out here. It's going to go to the gym probably after this, and then record the end of day recap. And keep in mind, if you're not around from the computer, I don't know why I should have said that. Say you've got a position in something. Put a price target that if it hits while you're gone, you're happy with it. And if it continues on that direction, well, that's part of the game. But say you had a short, say you bought Soxus this morning around 24. And you're like, I'll take $1, and you bought a bunch of it. And it hits, take it. Like, and walk away. Like, let the order do its thing. Because the Soxis, is it going back to 30 immediately? I don't know. Could the SMH pop to 343? Maybe. Like, you have to have in your mind, what are you comfortable with holding, and like, what happens if you're wrong? Like, stop playing this game of I can only be wrong, and let's like make my assumptions on that. No, I mean, I look at everything and go, man, could like the SPY get back up here? I don't know. Could it? That seems plausible, right? That seems logical. Could it? I don't know. Or is this a lower high? I mean, everyone's trying to argue this is a cup and handle, which, I mean, you can argue cup and handles until you're blue in the face, right? Like, here was your cup and handle, right? Trying to find another one. Here's a cup and a crappy handle. This is the thing. These formations that you're aware of them, but they don't necessarily, what's the best way to describe it? Like, you got to know what the market is. And to me, I think it's a bear market, trader's market. As soon as everyone gets excited, the market rolls over. As soon as people get super bearish, the VIX starts rising into the 30s, 40s, maybe we can actually blow off bottom, capitulate. Then you start expecting a rally shortly after. So, any questions, thoughts, concerns? Can I help you with a particular name or stock? Again, if you're asking me about penny stocks and crappy little names, my response is usually the same. Like, trade them, be careful. More times than not, they're pumps and dumps. And remember, at the end of a rally, bear market rally, or rally up in a bear market, they typically pop pretty strong. Like, Carvana. Someone's talking about it today. Like, I got a short Carvana. Do you? I mean, I know it's dead and it's popping, but you just don't ever know. You just don't ever know. These names, again, they've been absolutely throttled. I would rather short market leaders that are up near the highs, that are like looking to roll over, versus the bottom absolute trash. Because here's the problem, right? The trash can float. And what if it's a short squeeze beyond what you can control? Meaning, have you ever been in a stock, and you're familiar with this because I am, where the market starts to dump and it rallies? Well, what's going on is, like, institutional hedge funds, big money, who's been short, is covering, say, something like as crappy as Carvana, to go short elsewhere. And so what happens is the pressure lifts it. So, AMC, what's going on with them? I mean, I tried to warn, if anyone in the mentality of money rooms here, I was like, there's like a trader who's like a professional AMC trader. I'm like, man, if you could take your talent to something better, it's just trash. Just trash. It's like you got really good at a skill and you're scared to take it to other stocks. Like, imagine if you, and again, this is what they say in this room, the mentality of money. Oh, he's a great AMC trader. Well, being a great AMC trader is like being a great single A baseball player. You should move up if you're good. Move up to names that really move. If you want to play in the big leagues, trade the big names. All right. Any last thoughts, questions, concerns? I appreciate everybody. I know this is not probably what you want to hear sometimes, is that maybe the market's going to fluff around. I like seeing silver do what it does. Pops. And starting to flop. We talked about the 20-day. Got back under it. Gold. Oops. Oopsies. It's getting stuck here. GDXer. Getting close. Oh, that is the low of the day. Oh, how about them apples? Looking good. GDXJ, which, remember, the juniors lead. Juniors lead. Uh-oh, 20-day. Breaking that. Now, again, keep in mind, I'll end it with this. I'm glad I looked at these. Metals up into the FOMC get sold. So I'm not surprised they're down a little bit. But it does mean, in my opinion, that they could get smashed with the FOMC, or they could do what? As we all know what happens during the FOMC day. Choppiness. You could get some rallies back to fail. Just keep that in mind. And if they somehow say something that doesn't make sense to any of us as of right now and they rally after that, please have a stop. Hope this helps. Be safe out there. Be smart. And again, if you want to join the Discord room, link is in the description. Get involved. If you're just going to sit there like a bump on a log and try to pick this up through osmosis, it doesn't really work like that. If If you don't want to give it your all to try to figure this out, then what are you doing? Again, if you can't give your everything to anything you're really passionate about or want to be great at, don't expect great things. You know, I mean, it's like talking to a child. Like we're internally like children. Like, hey, Johnny, do you want to be good at baseball? Yeah. All right, we're gonna have to practice. Oh, I don't want to practice. Okay. Well, hey, Bob, you're now a 60-year-old grown man. You want to be good at trading, yet you don't want to spend 15 minutes watching a recap or reviewing the charts or watching a back to basics or studying something or studying the past? Well, guess what? Don't expect to do well. I haven't been playing basketball. I've had this weird elbow issue for it seems like years. I've just been strength training. I think I had too many cortisone shots into my elbow, and I partially tore my bicep. And I've been playing basketball with it. But you know what happens when you get in your 40s, right? You get older, things don't recover as quick. And so I've kind of come to this point where I'm gonna keep build muscle strength and do good, be smart, light weights, rebuild slowly, which I have for about 6 months, much stronger, and then see what happens. If I can't kind of heal it on my own, I might. I hate surgery. I mean, a lot of people might think now again, knee a little different. You know, if you tear something completely, but I don't think I fully tore something, so it doesn't really make sense to get surgery. And I'm beyond the. And again, I've compressed a disc. I've done a lot of crazy stuff, and I've used acupuncture and rehabilitation on my own to strengthen stuff. I mean, I've torn my labrum. I mean, I've had a lot of injuries from playing sports and being active my whole life. And so 9 times out of 10, you can repair that stuff without surgery. It just takes a lot of work and recovery. But maybe there becomes a certain point where age just kind of catches up and you can't. Maybe at some point, I'm hoping live long enough to be able to like replace a limb. But all the way up his shoulder when it died. Yeah, Shannon, that's how if you tear that freaking bicep, it'll pop up to your shoulder. Yes, I don't fall snowboarding. I've been snowboarding my whole life, off and on, and it's one thing I don't ever get injured doing anymore. The only time I ever really got injured snowboarding was overshooting a jump on a quarter pipe and compressed a disc landing it. I went too far. Landed on the flat surface and my spine literally collapsed. It was pretty bad. And I was in a chair for like 6 months. I was all screwed up, but I never had surgery. And now it doesn't hurt at all. I am careful, but not really snowboarding. I'm like comfortably risk taking. Basketball, again, it's my shooting arm, kind of sucks. Again, everybody here has probably had injuries. I'm telling you right now, it's 9 times out of 10, most injuries, as long as they're not complete tears or complete ruptures, can be healed with rest and just rehabilitation. Do you have to go to rehab doctor? Nah, I don't think so. I like acupuncture, so I like stretching. I think you can get the same kind of relief through the knowledge that's on the internet. It's like watching these videos. You're learning about trading. Well, all right, what if you learned about your injury, what it was, how to heal it? All right, I'm out. Y'all have a great one. Talk to you later. Love you guys. Peace.